Hey, how are you doing today? Welcome to my Flosstube channel. My name is Sally and this channel is Sally Stitches and. Now, while this channel is mostly about cross stitching, I also like to delve into other hobbies. And, so sometimes I might talk about knitting, sometimes I might talk about other things that I'm interested in, but mostly this is going to be about cross stitch. Today's episode is Sally Stitches and Gets Organized. Over the last couple weeks since I last filmed, I have gone through all of my cross stitch stuff and I have reorganized it, and I have found a system that I think is really functional and cool, and I thought I would share it with you today. But first, let's talk about other cross stitch news. So I spent most of my time getting organized, but I also did a little bit of stitching and I finished something. And you guys already know about this if you follow my channel because, I've posted a finishing tutorial, but here it is. Isn't this cool? This is Seaside Tiny Town. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot the name of it. And the designer is Heart and Hand Needleart. And this is something that I finished into a drum. Look, I've got some waves on the top and waves on the bottom. This is a fabric by Sarah Watts, and it's from her Florida Volume 2 line. And I just thought it went really well. So, one thing I didn't talk about when I finished this is that when I finish sewing along the top, what I'll do is I'll stick my needle in and then I'll pull it out and do an open spot and then just kind of pull it tight to cut it. That's called burying your threads, I think, if you're into quilting. I've heard that for quilting. But when I snipped my thread, it was right here. I ended up snipping a teeny tiny little pinhole into the fabric, like it was maybe just 2 or 3 threads. I was really upset because I had worked like all day. I had tried to film every step and I didn't know what to do. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up taking some of this floss, and this is one of the called for flosses in the patterns. And it's the same one I used for this like elongated cross stitch border, but I stitched a little starfish over my boo-boo. And I don't know if starfish would live in a town that's like the Seaside Tiny Town, but crabs live there. And so I think that's good. I think also what I might do is I might go back and I might just add like maybe one more starfish here in a coordinating color, maybe the crab color, and then maybe another one here so that it's not just like one. But anyway, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I want to make all the drums now. So if you have ever needed to make a drum and you don't know how to do it, I suggest that you go to Hands On Design's website, and she has a blog section, and there is a tutorial that I followed to make my drum that I think is super easy. If you've ever made like a bizcornu, you can make a drum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link it down below, and start making all the drums. They are fun. They're also really easy to decorate with. I am going to be switching my kind of seasonal decoration table. It's in my dining room, and I'll show it to you next time once I have it set up. But it, we're kind of moving out of late spring and into kind of early summer vibes. And this guy is gonna be part of my early summer friends. So that's all that I stitched on this time. But that's not true. I did start something, and I just started it like 2 days ago, and I'm actually really close to finishing it. So I've got it right here. So the pattern is Honeybee by Blackbird Designs. And I left a little post-it on here. It says, "Enjoy, Holly." My friend Holly, Hobbies of Holly, gave me this pattern many years ago, and I found it recently. And here is what I've got so far. I'm gonna move my thread out of the way here. So I am almost done with it. I just have to put the little bee skep in the corner, but I've got all these flowers. Look at those leaves. Each of the leaves uses like 4 different colors. Now, to make this, I did not have any of the Gentle Art sampler threads that were the called for colors. I did have a few of the DMCs. I went through my DMC stash and grabbed what I could, like this one right here, and some of these purples are DMC. But then the rest of what I picked out were colors by this company called Color and Cotton. And a lot of the colors are things that I received because I used to be part of the Color and Cotton Floss of the Month Club, and I used to get 5 skeins a month. And so if you do that like a year and a half, next thing you know, you've got like 80 million skeins of floss, and I do. And so what I've really been enjoying doing lately is when I kit up projects, trying to maybe add a little fancy floss in if I think the pattern will benefit from it, you know? And so it's been fun to kind of create my own colorways, and I think this is turning out really nice. Now, the reason I started this is because my friend Zan, who is Crazy Band Lady Stitches here on YouTube, is having a birthday sale. And that's actually why I picked this birthday cupcake needle minder too. It's called Zan's Bee, like B-E-E, Day S-A-L on Instagram if you like the hashtags. I'll put the hashtag down below too. And so I wanted to pick a bee themed thing. You know, a lot of people are doing the new hands-on design botanical bee. I haven't purchased that pattern, but boy, I'm seeing a lot of people do it and I'm thinking, man, I really want to stitch that pattern. You know, ironically, I'm allergic to bees. And so it's kind of funny that I'm like into this bee season, like where I'm decorating with bees everywhere because, you know, they will kill me, but that's okay. These won't. Cross-stitch pieces won't. So I have one other piece of haul, and this is something I'm very, very excited about. And that is my StitchCon shirt. Yes, I am going to StitchCon next month. I am part of Weekend A. This is my first StitchCon. My friends have gone, and I really want to go. I think it's going to be really, really, really fun. I hope that it's not overwhelming. I think that, you know, a lot of people in a small space can be really fun, but can also be like, oh my gosh, what have I done? But I'm going to lean into it's going to be fun part because I am excited to see my friends. I'm excited to meet new people. I hope that I don't come across as like a fangirl for people that I've seen on Flosstube that maybe you'll see in real life, because that can be kind of weird. You know, like it's kind of parasocial. You're like, oh, hey, Elizabeth from Elizabeth and Can Stitch. I know exactly how you cleaned your craft room recently because she posts about it in a vlog. And I just really don't want to come across as like, you know, creepy. But I think it's going to be really fun. I'm already starting to think about what projects I want to work on. And speaking of, I'm going to show you what I plan to work on in May. But I'm going to move us over to my craft table because I want to, you know, kind of show you up close and also just kind of take my time because I got some feedback from my mom actually that I'm like whipping these, you know, up and down too fast. And so I want to make it so that you guys are enjoying watching it. And I don't want anyone to get seasick. So let's move over to the craft table. Okay, I've never done this before. And this tripod is just a cheapy like Amazon Basics one. And so this is really precarious. But this is my work table. You can see it's all like banged up and there's nail polish and paint on it because this is also the kids' work table. And it's good to have a table that you can just get messy on and not worry too much about it. But here's a closer look at the drum I just made. I really like the beads that are used for the seagull's eyes and the crab's eyes because it lends a lot of dimensionality to it. And I'm just really happy with how the colors are. So I got my lonely starfish here. I think another kind of pink starfish here, and then maybe a starfish here. And then that is like the rule of 3. I've got kind of a pleasing number of starfish on the top. So I'm going to try to do that later today. So what else did I work on this month besides that? I really primarily did organizing, but I did get a couple more stitches on this piece. Now this is the Castle Homecoming by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and I am way behind. This was the stitch along that we did last year. But you know what? Stitch alongs sometimes can be start alongs, and you can start with everyone else and you can really enjoy, you know, kind of being part of that community. And then you can just work on pieces at your own pace. So what I worked on this month is I finished up this tree right here, all these leaves. There's 3 different colors in here, and there's a squirrel here and there's a squirrel there. And that's fun because we have been enjoying the antics of the squirrels through, you know, just the last month. It's been a lot of fun. My daughter and I like to watch them. Did you know that squirrels, when they are kind of coupling up, they groom each other like cats? We saw it. It was so cute. They were like patting each other's faces and licking the tops of their heads. And if you ever get a chance to see it, it was really adorable to watch. They were just sitting in a tree, just, you know, kind of being like Disney squirrels, I guess. So I am going to, when I pick this piece up, I'm going to work on filling in this top corner. So there's a castle that's supposed to go here. And then this is the start of like a really pretty kind of floral, like illuminated border. And then the piece extends out on this side too. So I am like, you know, not quite halfway done, but I'm approaching halfway. I'm between a third and a half. And so this will be fun to pick up later, but not this month, because it just occurred to me that it is May and I want to do kind of a fun theme thing. Now, some people do like, you know, like a whip go thing, or, you know, like a start a bunch of new stuff thing. But what I'm going to do is mermaid. So I'm going to work on this. This is Under the Sea, which is also by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And this was the stitch along that was done right before Castle Homecoming. So I'm behind on several stitch alongs, but that's okay. So this piece has mermaids in it, and that's why I'm calling this mermaid. So I'm going to work on this as a focus piece, meaning I'm going to try to finish this. And the feedback on these pieces is that this piece had a lot fewer stitches than Castle Homecoming, so I think I can do it. And I do see a lot more like spacing between motifs. And I think it should be satisfying, like to get a little school of fish here and a little mermaid there, or however the pattern leads me. So that's going to be my focus for this month. You know, I don't usually like kit up my projects to be cute, but this one, ironically, I did. I had, first off, this really cute mermaid bag. I got this from Tiffany, who is like Black Cat Stitchery on Etsy. And then I kitted the floss with pretty floss drops. These are little heart floss drops that are sparkly from Adam Hart Cross Stitch. And I've got the needle minder. And let's see if I can show you a little closer. But the needle minder is a little submarine. Sorry, I'm doing this sideways because I don't want to knock my tripod over. But this is one of the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery's needle minders. And these are made by Maria of A Needle Runs Through It. And I love these. They're so strong, but they're made out of wood, so they're lightweight on your piece. And they have like a chunkiness so that you don't like accidentally wrap your thread around it or catch corners. And I think they're really cute. If you're not like a Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery person, like, why are you watching this channel? I'm kidding. But like, Maria also, like, just from her Etsy shop, does her own needle minders, and they're really cute. I got one that was a Pride and Prejudice themed one that has that scene from the 2005 movie where Mr. Darcy runs into Elizabeth after Lady Catherine met. Spoilers, I guess, if you aren't familiar with the story. And it's that quote, and I just think that's really cool because I have a soft spot for that 2005 version of that story, even though most people really prefer the 1995. I think you can like both. So that's pretty much what I've been working on from cross stitch, you know, world. And now I want to talk a lot about organizing. So I have a lot of goals for organizing. First off, I want to know what I have so I don't waste money by rebuying things that I already have. I also really want my things to be safe. As I've mentioned in the past, I have an autistic child, and he is kind of like a little hurricane sometimes. And so I have to be careful, first because of sharp stuff. I really don't want him to get into my cross-stitch scissors and, you know, hurt himself. But also, I put a lot of work into my cross-stitch pieces, and I don't want him to like get fingerprints or, you know, stuff on my cross stitch. So it's like a mutual like thing. Protect the cross stitch from him, protect him from the sharps. And so organizing can be kind of like a challenge, especially if you have a space where you don't have a house big enough to have a craft room that you can close off. And that's the case here. I do have a basement that I can use for, you know, like storage of things that I really, really, really don't want the kids to go into. You know, and I say kids because I have 2 kids, but, you know, I don't want him to get into. He is not allowed in the basement. We have a gate and a door, you know, there. And the reason he's not allowed in the basement is just because there's a lot of stuff like a furnace and a water heater, you know, things we just don't want him to get hurt on. But we don't really use the basement for anything other than storage. In fact, I've joked in the past and called it my craft dungeon because I have a lot of yarn down there that's stored in cabinets. I have a lot of stuff, and that is a great resource to have, but it's not a convenient resource for when I want to grab things and move. And so what I worked on with organizing is kind of consolidating cross stitch, so I don't have like a little bit here and a little bit in another room and a little bit in another room. And also just to double check to make sure that things are safe. And, you know, so that's what I did. So the first thing I did was I made a list, and I'll just tell you a little bit. I'm not going to show you the whole list, but I sorted it into categories like floss, like kitted projects, needle minders, fabric. And I wrote down the current situation for each. And then I wrote down my ideas for what I wanted to do to redo it. The other thing I did is I reorganized my family room. So in my family room, we have that art table, that, you know, good mess making table that I just showed you briefly. But next to it, we have like a console that, you know, kind of like a buffet, but we always called it the art console because it had art supplies, school supplies, perler bead kits, kinetic sand, all the stuff that the kids could do to make messes, basically, right next to the art table. And that was a lot of fun. But now my kids are 12 years old and 15 years old, and they don't play with Play-Doh anymore. And so it doesn't really make sense for me to have all that. So about a week and a half ago, to start organizing, my daughter and I went through that art console, and I was so proud of her and so grateful that she was so giving, because she made the decisions about things. Like, so for perler beads, she wanted to keep the little melted, you know, creations that she'd made. And so we kept those, but all of the unused beads and instruction manuals and stencils and all that stuff, she was ready to let go of. And so I posted them on our local community buy nothing group, and someone picked them up, and it was really cool. The other thing we had was a lot of school supplies. We did like homeschool for like COVID times because, you know, everyone did. And so I had a lot of school supplies, like kids' school scissors and crayons and markers and stuff like that. And those are usable, but we don't need like 8 million of them. And so we kept a small set, you know, so that we can complete school assignments at home. And then I ended up donating all that extra paper and school stuff to my son's elementary school teacher, who agreed ahead of time that she wanted it. I didn't just like show up and was like, hey, here's a bunch of junk. No, I took a photo of it and I sent it to her and said, hey, would you be interested? And she said, absolutely. And so I took all that there. So we didn't throw anything away. What we did was we emptied out half of this console so that it's more functional for them for when they do want to do art table mess stuff, because, you know, maybe they do for nostalgia. But it's definitely more functional for me because now I have a command center for all of my cross stitch. And so why don't I show you that command center right now? So I've stepped back so that you can get kind of a sense of the entire room here. So this is our family room. And right now I've got the ironing board out because I ironed these pieces that I just showed you before I, you know, got them on camera so that they weren't a wrinkled mess. So this is the doorway to the stairwell. And the reason we have this like pet gate here is because sometimes my son likes to throw things down the stairs. I think he likes that sensory feeling of doing that. And he's broken an iPad doing that. And so we did this as just kind of a throwing barrier so that we don't have any broken iPads. Here we have my quilting stuff. I'm gonna move my ironing board out of the way. But these are all my quilting fat quarters. And then this stuff on top, I actually low-key hate this, but my husband likes to do VR. And so he has this old like junk art piece here because he needs like a sensor clamp so that he can have like his, you know, headset sensed properly. I don't know. I don't do virtual reality. But anyway, we got our messy art table here. And then this is the new console. And so the right side is my cross stitch stuff. And the left side is the kids' craft stuff. So you can see they still have all the crafts, and I didn't make them like throw them away like I'm evil. But I have a new section that's functional for me. First off, for Mother's Day, my family got me a Bisley cabinet. This is my second Bisley cabinet, and I was previously using one to do floss in the top half, and then like stationery and office supplies and art supplies for me in the bottom half. But now I have all floss and cross stitch in this one. And then the other Bisley is on my desk in the living room. And that is my stationery and a couple knitting supplies and stuff like that. So that was really fun to organize. And I'm so grateful for my family to do that. This is my sewing machine with the sewing machine cover. This is my favorite video game character. My sister made this for me. And look at all those little tiny quilt pieces. Isn't that cool? So if you're interested, his name is Ignis, and he's from a game called Final Fantasy 15, which is my very favorite video game. And it was just like the coolest custom, you know, sewing machine cover I've ever seen. I like to quilt, and I'll tell you more about my quilting stuff in the future, but these are 2 quilt projects that are currently ongoing. These latch boxes are awesome for holding the pins and the sharps and the scissors so my kids don't get into them. And I'm going to say kids, but the autistic kid is the one that I'm concerned about. My 15-year-old daughter does not get into my stuff. So, top shelf. I've got my floss boxes, and I'll show them to you in more detail as I talk about each kind of category of organization. And then this is a box that I'll show you right now. I'm sorry, I don't want you guys to be seasick. But this is a box of kind of cross-stitch finishing things and miscellany. So I have here just some like very, very tiny cuts of fabric that I cut off of projects I was finishing. And they were too big to throw away, but too small for like a brand new like big project, but perfect for a small. So this is kind of funny. I used index cards and I kind of wrapped them like how I would do a comic book board. And then I've got some trims and some embellishments in here. And then all of my like Lady Dot Creates trims that I've accumulated over the years. And then this separate tub is all Christmas themed decoration stuff. Because I would say that I probably make more Christmas stuff than any other kind of cross stitch category. The other thing I have, and I just found these and tucked them in here when I was finishing my drum, is this is a set that's made by Chantel's 141 Design Company. And this is a set of like rings that you can use to measure out, you know, dimensions of like circle finishes. And the set comes with both full inches and half inches. So where does it say? Here it is. So this would be the 6-inch. So the outer circle makes a 6-inch circle, which is really cool. Actually, the inner circle is probably pretty close to a 5.5, but not quite, or I'm sorry, a 5-inch, because they're like half-inch thick. So this is a 3.5-inch. So for that drum I just did, because of the way my fabric turned out, I actually needed a circle that was 3 3/4 inches, and I only have like half and whole inches for this kit. So I didn't use it this time, but I have it if, you know, I don't want to get the protractor out. Okay, this bottom shelf has a drawer that is my felt die cut machine, and all the dies and the power cable are in there. But then this right here are all my cross stitch kits. So what I have done sometimes is I have, you know, gathered a pattern, and then I have maybe a fabric that I want to use specifically for it, or a, you know, floss that I got to go with that pattern. And so I bag them up and I keep them all together here. I'll try to do maybe a kit parade in the future. We'll see. This was a perfect space on top to hold my DMC card. This is an older card. It does not have the 1 through 35s in it, but I find this helpful, especially as I'm using my color and cotton flosses more to kind of like suss out like a DMC equivalent. And then over here, I've got some patterns. So these are patterns that I have not stitched yet, and I'll show you how those are organized in a minute. And then these are patterns that I have stitched, but I want to keep the pamphlet. And so this is my organization system here. So let's start talking more about cross-stitch organization by category. Okay, so welcome to the other side of my living room, and this is my very messy desk area. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to start by talking about what is working. So let me turn the camera around. First off, I wanted to talk about needle minder storage. So the reason that I keep needle minders in my living room is because I am concerned about the magnets. I don't want my son to, you know, swallow magnets. Magnets are like a thing that, you know, I think a lot of parents worry about, especially parents of small children who don't know better. So I made a little quilt. It's hard to see because it's so full of needle minders, but it's got a little rainbow in it, and I can attach any needle minders that I'm not using to this quilt. And it's kind of fun to look at because some of these are needle minders that have been gifts from other people, like the little froggies in the corner. And a lot of them are just things I collect because I like. You can see I really like the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery needle minders. But if I back up, and I'm going to apologize for seasickness, you can see that's quite high up. That's probably about 6-7 feet up from the ground. And so it's not like an attractive place for my son. The other thing that didn't change is how I store my works in progress. So I showed you my stitchy corner that I do a lot of my filming from, you know, because it's in my living room. But this is the other side of my family room, and this is my TV corner. I like to watch a lot of my floss tubes on my television. Not my floss tubes, but other people's floss tubes. And so I will use this little table, you know, to hold my cross-stitch stuff. And then I stack all the throw pillows in the corner. So I've got a comfy little nest with my blanket. And then any work in progress I have right here. So I have this single wire basket. And these are all the whips that I showed you in my whip parade a couple weeks ago. That is empty project bags. And I've decided that I think I've got enough project bags. If I fill these up, then I want to work on getting these whips under control before I start another project. The other thing that works right now is my fabric situation. But I do store my fabric still in the basement craft dungeon. So I'm going to go bring it up, and then I'll show you how I've got that organized. For fabric, I like to use comic book boards like this one. I think this is like 10 inches by 7 inches, and they come in packs of 100. And what I do is I will wrap every single skein of, or cut of fabric, so it's kind of like a bolt in a store. This is my very favorite fabric. This is Fiber on a Whim in Silver Fox. So I'll just put the information right there, including the original cut size. I've actually used this for 2 separate projects, so there's a little less than that. So I keep this not upstairs because I like to keep it in the basement where it is dark, so we don't have to worry about sun fading that happens here. I also use this kind of lid that has this like foam gasket on the side. And that way I don't have to worry about water issues. I don't have to worry about bugs. This is something that I learned from, you know, knitting all those years. You know, you have to protect things because moths and stuff like to eat fiber. And so these are safe like this. So now let's talk a little bit about floss organization, and I'll show you each of these Bisley drawers. So this Bisley drawer unit is used for my fancy floss and also some of my cross-stitch notions. So the top of this, I'm still kind of working out the layout, is a divided compartment that has a lot of my needle packs, a lot of my floss drops, some things that maybe some friends have given me at retreats, like this scissor keep, and, you know, other things that are just little things that I like to keep all together. And then I put all my extra hoops and all my metallics in the second drawer. So I've got my DMC Diamant, my Etoile, and then my extra hoops. This is all my like treasure braid stuff. This next drawer is very full because these are my color and cottons. So remember how I told you I was part of that subscription? When this drawer got full, I was like, you need to let someone else have the subscription space. And so I ended up giving up my slot because this is a lot of beautiful floss that's going to make me happy to stitch for a long time. I have these organized alphabetically by the color name on 3 floss rings. And I have the tags out this way so I can just kind of grab the ring to pull the whole thing out. But it does take a little getting used to. Like, you got to be very gentle about closing that drawer. The next one is set up the same way, and these would be from other floss companies. So I've got my Gentle Art in here. I've got my Weeks. I have some Forbidden Fiber in here. And yeah, it's really a nice setup there. And oops, see, gotta be careful. I'm also sorry if you can hear that weed whacking that's going on outside. It is like lawn care season around here in Michigan. Here's my last one. And this is another club that I was in that I decided to, you know, kind of give up my slot. And this was being hosted by Colleen the Rebel Stitcher, and this was a Cottage Garden Threads floss club. Cottage Garden Threads is a company out of Australia. They make beautiful variegated flosses. I just think these are fantastic. And so I ended up organizing these also by the name of the color because I don't understand their coloring system. The other thing I did too is the cards they come on are usually like full-size cards. And I ended up cutting the cards off because I only need like one copy of the care instructions. And also kind of like loosening the skeins so that I wouldn't have a lot of bulk as I, you know, tried to use these. So I've got that one right there. And then I have a very small ring of some silks. I don't do a lot of stitching with silks, but these are some silks from Ymir with almond M&Ms. And I just put those on a ring so I can use those. I like these tones. I also have a second ring with like some more brights from Ymir. So that is my fancy floss organization. So when I was a kid, the thing that I absolutely loved about cross stitch was stitching designs by this pattern designer named Teresa Wentzler. She retired like over a decade ago, but she would publish some charts through Leisure Arts, and they would have like a little author bio at the end, and it was like Teresa Wentzler with all of her bobbins of floss, like holding them up to the fabric like, yes, this is the one I will use in my design. And I wanted to be Teresa Wentzler so badly. So much, in fact, that I did toy like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, briefly with kind of starting my own cross-stitch design company. Problem is, I didn't really have a lot of ideas for cross-stitch designs that weren't like licensed properties. And I just don't think I knew a lot about like the community and the industry. And so that never got off the ground. But one thing that I did at that time in a very Teresa Wentzler move was I bought the full DMC collection and I bobbinated the whole darn thing. So some of these are not here right now because I am using them in some kits. And so when that happens, I end up flipping them that way. So I know where to put them back. And I have 5 boxes. That is the entire DMC collection. Those are the greens. And here are like my yellows, oranges, reds. And I have these organized not by floss number because that would be too intuitive, right? No. So I have them organized by DMC color card order. And so I think it's good from a like, hey, I want to compare all the shades of orange together, but I know that that also drives people crazy. If you were ever to do this yourself, if you wanted to do the whole collection, you would need 5 of these art bins and you would have it. I have the 1 through 35s in the last bin, kind of just with my grays and neutrals. So I bet you were thinking, and then Sally never bought floss again. Except that is not the case. I get floss in kits. I get floss that maybe is in something else and I can't find it. And so I buy it again. And, you know, we all kind of accumulate floss. And so this is how I'm handling my extra DMC floss. So this is one of those photo boxes that you can get, like I got this one at Michael's, but they come from a lot of different companies. This one has a series of little 4-inch by 6-inch boxes. These are meant for like photo organizing. And there are 16 boxes total. And guess what? DMC's numbering scheme has like 15 categories. And so what I did was I just followed their numbering scheme. So here's 0XX because these are all the DMC 1 through 35s. And then if they ever add more, you know, they could go in there. So if I need floss color like 437, I would go into my 400 box and I would see if I have it before I buy it. Let's see, do I have it? Or is that you? I do. There you go. So whenever I'm starting a new project, I check this box first to see if I have any floss. And any leftover DMC floss that I have from previous projects, I put in here. Because there's 15 floss color categories, I have one extra category I could do here. And so this is for any of my blacks, whites, and I throw ecru here too. I also have this because I just think it's darling. My little daughter, when she turned like 7 or 8, she cross-stitched something and she made these little bobbins. And I'm just gonna keep that forever. For patterns, I have 2 separate things. I have this binder. This is actually quite an old binder. This was from my high school, college days. And so any project that I've completed, I'll go ahead and throw in here. Like I just completed Golden State. And here is Cat Tapestry. And then this I'm going to show you, but please don't make fun of me. Because this was a binder that I was repurposing from high school, I found some high school art and I'm going to keep it in here forever. Check that out. That is Kevin from the Backstreet Boys. And I did a really good job on his eyes. So that's kind of my funny little joke. But the rest of this is, you know, patterns that I have completed where I want to keep the pamphlet. Because I like to, you know, kind of look at these as memories. Like this particular magazine had the pattern that I made for like one of my kids' Christmas stockings. So I'll keep that forever. You know, when we moved into our first home, we used this pattern to make like a little like family, you know, established sign. You know, so there are some things that I'll keep forever. Here's good old Teresa Wentzler. I never actually stitched this, but does it have the picture that I was talking about on it? Oh, we gotta check it and find out. Sorry. It doesn't. It's just the chart. But I swear to God, on some of her patterns, there would be like a little picture of her, like, you know, holding all her floss. And it just really struck me as a kid. The other floss organizing piece is something that I actually just purchased for myself. And this was the only thing I purchased for organizing. I tried to repurpose other items, you know, so I could just use what I had. I guess I'm not counting the Bisley. That was a present. But these are my patterns that I want to stitch. So I have this hanging file box, and then I have hanging files that are organized like A through B, C through D. There's 12 of them here that go through the whole alphabet. And then what I do is I just organize by designer. So I'll pull A, B out. We can see what I got. So I got some Autumn Lane Stitchery. Oh, this is gonna be upside down. Let's flip it around. I filed them this way so that the folds would be facing the bottom of the folder. So I got some Autumn Lane Stitchery. There's Kathy Barrick, so B for Barrick. Lots of blue flower. I see some Bendy Stitchy in there, and so on. So all the A through B patterns that I have that I would like to maybe stitch are in this folder. In fact, you know, let me scoot this over so I can get this folder back in here. In fact, when I was putting away some of my finishing stuff, I found some patterns that I'm going to put into this thing. So I found these, which are things I bought at the Chantel's 141 Pep Rally last year, and they're all hands-on design. And the reason they were not in with my other patterns is because I got these plaid all year designs from her, and they're all designed to fit the same finishing piece that Chantel makes. And so I was keeping them with the finishing piece in the craft dungeon. So, whoopsie. Now what I can do is I can put them in my folder, and they're going to go under H. Okay, I'm going to try not to make this too crinkle here because there's a lot of plastic in here. But this is that drawer that I pulled out of my console, and these are all kits. So I'm not going to go through and do a full kit parade, but this is what I consider a kit. So this is a pattern, Frosty Tiny Town, and what I've done is I've pulled some floss and then some fabric. In fact, this fabric is the offcut from the drum I just finished. So because I cut a piece of fabric in half, I had a long skinny piece that was perfect for another of these tiny towns, and so I just went ahead and put it together as a kit. So I've got that ready to go for when I'm ready to stitch it. Same with this. This is one that I just picked up when I was on a retreat with some friends, and because I bought floss to go with it, I'm just keeping that together, and then I'll just have to add fabric later. Sometimes I just have the floss, and then I have a little note like what this is for. I'm trying to find a good kit that I'm excited about. Oh, here's one. This is one my friend Hobbies of Holly sold to me. She got it at a retreat that she went to, but this is a blue flower kit, Forest Home. There's the pattern. And this is a kit that includes the fabric and the floss and the pattern. So this is going to be a lot of fun. and I really want to start this, but these blue flower patterns are deceptively way bigger than they look on the design. You're like, oh, that's a little 6x8. And then you find out it's like a 10x15 design with 8 million stitches. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish my current blue flower design before I open that guy up. So lots of fun to be had in my kit drawer. So there you have it. That is how I organize a lot of my cross stitch stuff. Now, let me tell you what organization has told me. One, I have like a lot of cross stitch things. In fact, we could probably say I am approaching Sable. And do you know what Sable means? That is an acronym for Stash Acquired Beyond Life Expectancy. But it's okay, because I'm just going to assume I'm immortal, and I'm just going to keep having a lot of fun with stitching. I do think it's important to go through your stuff like periodically, because sometimes your tastes change, and there are things that could make other stitchers happy, like you could sell them to other people, like Holly sold that kit to me. Or, you know, you can give them to a friend too, or take them to a freebie table if you go to a retreat. So the one other thing you might have noticed about my organization system is that I don't use labels. And that's because I think organization systems need to be worked with before you can commit to the label. I ran into this like a couple years ago when I was trying to do like a fridge organization. You look at like these like beautiful lifestyle blogs, and they have like labels for like grapes and apples and things like that in their fridges. But like our food is dynamic. We don't always buy the exact same things every week. And so to have a label and to have to redo the labels is like annoying. The point is, I know what's there, and I know how much space I have to, contribute new things to that. And so my goal is to kind of just not overfill the space that I've set out for my hobby. And I think that I can do it. I've made a lot of good progress with whips this year. And, I really feel like I've been intentional with things I've purchased. But I've also had some fun making some splurges too. So before I leave today, I wanted to give you a little bit of a knitting update, because I finished another knitting thing, and this is funny because I didn't even talk about this last time. I talked a little bit about knitting and playing with yarn at my last video, but I didn't actually show you what I was working on, and this is what I was working on. So this is a cowl by Olga Jazzy Knits on Instagram, and believe it or not, I started this in 2015. And I didn't know how the finishing instructions were going to go. I was really concerned because I was worried I wasn't getting gauged. This pattern is a 2-color pattern. And so you have to be very careful with how you carry the other colors so that you don't, make a fabric that is too tight. This is also you can flip it inside out and it's the same pattern. It was basically a tube that I sewed end to end to make, kind of a finished tube, like a donut. And so I am really happy that I finished this, and I'm going to wear it this year. So this is what it looks like. Oh, I'm so dignified. This is going to be great with my winter coat. The other thing that I started with knitting was a brand new project, and this is something that I saw on Instagram. There's an Instagram yarn dyeing company called Sprinkled Fibers that was showing this. They were selling kits for this particular sweater, and I just thought it was so pretty. The name of the sweater is the Heirloom Quilt Cardigan. I'll see if I can maybe put a picture of it right here. But theirs was done in a bunch of beautiful pastels, kind of like birthday confetti colors. And I ended up looking at my yarn stash and seeing some of those colors that I like in there. And so I'll show you the yarn first. So I have 9 balls of yarn. They are messy because I've been using them, but I have 4 different kinds of shades of blue. Here's 3 of them. And then my contrasting colors are this beautiful orange and this birthday cake pinky color. And I even have a bold pink color, because what you do to make this sweater is you knit little squares and then you sew them together just like a quilt. So I have a couple squares that I've blocked already. Here's one that's kind of got that greenish blue with the orange. I'll show you my favorite one first. I am a sucker for this pink. Isn't this pretty? So what I'm doing is I'm using the blues as mostly like kind of the background color, and then the contrasting colors for the stars. And I have to make 27 of these, and then I can sew them together to make kind of like a cropped cardigan for myself. I am excited for that. It's coming along really well. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 knitted. This is what they look like when they haven't been blocked. See, they're like, oh no, this is never gonna work. Blocking your knitting, which means wetting it down to shape it so that it will lay flat, is like a miraculous thing to do. It really, really makes your knitting look nice. And so, I mean, look at the difference. This is like, bleh. And this is so pretty. So anyway, I've been having fun with that. I can usually make about a block in a sitting. It takes me about an hour and a half. I've gotten to the point where I've memorized the pattern, so I don't have to look at a chart anymore. And, you know, when I'm not cross-stitching, it's really fun to kind of exercise other stuff, you know, and kind of make your brain, you know, not so busy so that you can just kind of enjoy some quiet, repetitive motion tasks. I think that's why I really enjoy stitching. So thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little bit of a longer video. Well, I guess I don't know how long it'll be until I edit all the little chunks together, but I am so blown away by how lovely this community is. I have never received a negative comment on any of the videos I've posted, and people are just so lovely and supportive. I wanted to call out a couple YouTube channels. There's Bobo Jessie Stitches. I just watched her Flosstube over the weekend, and she was so sweet. She made me cry because she said some really nice things about some of the Flosstube videos that I had watched. And so thank you so much, Jessie. I really enjoy maybe becoming your Flosstube friend. So, and I just want to remind you that if you liked this video, please feel free to give it a like and a subscribe. Each one I get makes my heart like flutter in excitement. You know, I also can be found on my Instagram. You know, here is right here. It's my name. You're going to see a lot of just my day-to-day stuff there. I really like to put stories up with, you know, what is up. And, you know, it's a fun way to connect. I think the internet is awesome for connecting. It's really enriched my love of this hobby, finding people that, you know, also love it too. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time, friends. Take care. Bye-bye.